Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Today I have with me Sri Rakesh Kaul. He had previously been on a hangout with us. Rakesh Kaul is an author, he's an activist. He is a co-founder of Global Kashmiri Pandit Diaspora, and he was among the few who interacted with Prime Minister Modi on behalf of the Kashmiri Pandits when Modi ji came visiting to Houston just a few weeks back. Much water has flown down the Ganga, Jhelum, Vitasta. You can name the river you want, and a lot of things are looking promising for Kashmir, Jammu, as well as Ladakh. To get a perspective of what he sees ahead of him, let's invite Rakesh ji to our hangout. Rakesh ji, welcome to PGurus channel.
Sri, it's a pleasure to be here with you on such an important occasion like today.
Thank you so much, sir. And by the way, congratulations on your second book. Excellent reviews. Perhaps you can first maybe introduce your authorial experience, the first book that you wrote, how it was received, and this is the second one. You are a businessman by profession, but you've taken to writing and you've been extremely successful at that too. Perhaps you could share your secret of success with our viewers, and then we can go to our main topic.
Sure. So the viewers have been very kind. My first novel, The Last Queen of Kashmir, which was published by HarperCollins, became a bestseller. It was the story of Kota Rani, probably the bravest queen that India has had, and perhaps one of the greatest queens in the world. She lived in the 14th century. She had been buried completely by folks who followed her in the state, but her story now has caught the imagination of the public. The book is completely sold out when it came out. HarperCollins priced it at 300 rupees. Today, you can't get a used copy even for 20,000 rupees in the US.
Amazing.
Occasionally, some dealer will put out a copy, but we have to reprint it. Now, my second novel, Dawn, the Warrior Princess of Kashmir, was released 2 weeks ago by Penguin. The early reception has been very kind. It fundamentally deals with the stories of Kashmir. Kashmir was the birthplace of stories with Panchtantra, Katha Sarit Sagar, Katha Kontaka. And so I brought this in a very magical way because Dawn is set in the year 3000. But I picked the name Dawn.
3000 before Common Era, sir?
3000 AD, the future.
Oh, AD. Oh, in the future. Oh, I see.
We're going to talk about the future.
Okay.
So people may say, why did you pick Dawn as the name of the protagonist? Is it a Western name? But that's not correct. Dawn is really Usha. Right. And Usha is the most powerful feminine deity in the Rig Veda. Usha is also the only deity from India that has found universal acceptance. Usha became Eos in Greece. It became Eostre in English. When Christianity came along, it became Easter. And Usha represents resurrection. Dawn, every morning, represents the birth of a new day. And so, in some sense, this program and Dawn are very apropos. And I hope your viewers go read that story because it'll tell them about Kashmir, facts and truths. As Anupam Kher says, this story of Dawn is about the eternal truths of Kashmir. And it's going to be something very new for them. It'll enrich their understanding of Kashmir.
That's very nice to know. We wish you all the best. Is it available on ebook
Amazon
version?
Yeah, Amazon, Flipkart, Kindle. It's available all around the world. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful, sir. Now, you also mentioned about what Kashmir provided to the rest of Bharatavarsha. I felt that I should also add one more thing. Vishnu Gupta, I think he taught the basics of music, and then from there, the music traveled down south to a place near Karnataka, and from there, that person took it down to Kaveri belt, where the Nayakars were in power at that time, and hence the name Carnatic music, because the man who introduced that, formalized it, made it in the form that it is today, was originally from Karnataka. These are all available in other videos. See, this is the biggest thing that I like from all of you people are subject matter experts. And I'm sometimes, worried that I should be remembering the right fact for the right occasion and not get anything mixed up. I think I got it right on this time. But you see, this was a place. I mean, you just look at Kashmir, right? There was everything in abundance, peace. The mind could just dwell on something at a higher plane. You didn't have the rosy roti problem. Maramari was not there. I'm just talking about, what it was. Perhaps when Kashyapa drained the lake and made, life possible in Kashmir. So it's a great place. I've been there a couple of times, not in the recent past. I hope to do so soon, maybe with you, and we can have, Professor Subhash Kak has invited me, and also another friend of mine. So there are lots of people who are from Kashmir that have become my friends. I'm sure I'm going to be there one of these days. So let's talk about a new dawn for Jammu, Kashmir, and the Ladakh area. So what are your hopes, aspirations, and what kind of vision do you have for the new union territory that's getting born tomorrow?
Yeah. So first, by the way, Professor Subhash Kak was my professor at IIT Delhi.
Oh, wow. Small world.
My guru, and we spent a lot of time together. So let's really understand first what is happening tonight. And, on social media, you see wild cheers of liberation, Kashmiri women taking their state subject certificate and gleefully pointing out the phrase that was stamped on it, which said valid only until the date of marriage, and anachronisms like that. So and other people saying, tonight I sleep as a state subject of Kashmir, tomorrow I wake up as an equal citizen of India. So all those things are true, but let's really understand what is the majesty of the movement at midnight. The majesty of the movement is that today the Indian Constitution, which has been described as the most powerful constitution in the world, has triumphed over a medieval state constitution. And the Indian Constitution is not only the longest enduring constitution in the post-colonial nations, but its power arises from the fact it's a people's constitution. It's a living constitution. It gets educated every day in the Supreme Court of India. And so what this movement of triumph of the Indian Constitution, the people's constitution, is that fundamentally the citizens of Jammu and Kashmir are now going to be empowered. So how is this empowerment going to be directed is really the question we should talk about. And my first statement would really be to the new Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, Mr. G.C. Muru, who from all counts is extremely talented and a strong administrator. And my expectation of him would be that when he comes in, that he not only be firm, but he be bold. Firm and bold as envisaged in the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act of 2019, which was passed on August 9th. Many people have not cared to read it carefully, but I want to make a couple of points for your viewers' consideration in terms of what my expectations would be. The very first thing that is important to see is that now the legislators who will serve in his council, the oath of office that they will take requires fealty to the Constitution of India. And when these people sign that oath, I want him to put it out in the public domain. So the hypocrisy that Jammu and Kashmir politicians play will be game over, because they'll be taking an oath, swearing the fealty to the Constitution of India, to the sovereignty of India. And that's important to be put out in the public domain when they sign those documents. Number two, the Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor has, the word is, unfettered powers when it comes to anti-corruption. India is a corrupt state. Indians have shown tremendous tolerance for corruption, and now under the Modi regime, that's changing. But your viewers have to understand that from top to bottom, Jammu and Kashmir state has been bedeviled within Kashmir, and Jammu was a victim and Ladakh was a victim. But within Kashmir, it was a massive exercise in the last 70 years of what I call criminal entrepreneurship. And this criminal entrepreneurship had experts in different areas. Some criminal entrepreneurs used the gray zone of politics and Article 370 to create enormous wealth for themselves. Some criminal entrepreneurs used religion, and so religion became for them the vehicle for getting windfall gains. So, for example, they used a religious weapon in committing the horrible genocide of Kashmiri Pandits in January of 1990. And my own estimates are that the windfall gains that accrued to them by the ethnic cleansing of Kashmiri Pandits was anywhere from $3 billion to $5 billion.
Wow, that's a big sum.
Yeah. The loss of life and the horrible destruction
trauma,
of this civilization. And then there was a third criminal entrepreneurs who were just basically practitioners of violence. And so you got examples of all three. You got the politicians who are in category one, you got the Shariat votaries who are in category two, and then you just got people like Yasin Malik and Bitta Karate who are posted children of category three. Now, in total, people estimate $42 billion of Indian tax money went into Kashmir. Now, I'm just giving these numbers to help you understand when I say that even by the Indian lax standards, the scope of criminal entrepreneurship boggles the mind. And so the first place I hope that the Lieutenant Governor is firm and bold is that he recognizes the situation for what it is, and he basically cleans the shop. And he will have unfettered powers when it comes to anti-corruption, but there's a second thing that he'll have. He will have the power to appoint an attorney general. And I truly hope that the attorney general he appoints is not an administrative judge who's an expert in pushing files. I hope he hires an attorney general who has strong prosecutorial zeal to him, so that he becomes a partner. And in this Reorganization Act, the Attorney General has the legal right to go in and address the legislature. Very interesting power that has been given to him. So that decision that the Lieutenant Governor makes will be a bellwether indicator of, are we going to clean the rotten system? Now, the choice of the Attorney General has a big bearing for the Kashmiri Pandits. Because we all know that not only were they victims of genocide and ethnic cleansing, but we also know that the Supreme Court of India actually tossed out their case, claiming that it was too late to collect evidence against the killers. Well, it's not too late.
Never too late. Never too late. Yeah.
And as we know from the Sikh issues, which were even predating the Kashmiri Pandits, the Supreme Court is hearing those. So the strong expectation would be that the Attorney General will take up upon himself to recognize that the foundation of running J&K state has to be justice, and the first thing that he should do is to create a legal plea with the Supreme Court that this particular genocide issue has to be brought back into the purview of the legal system, and that he, Attorney General, will personally prosecute the cases that the community is agitated about. Now, remember, in addition to these two, the Attorney General, anti-corruption, and a Lieutenant Governor framework, the police also reports to him, to the Lieutenant Governor. So the arms are there, they have to be excised. That's sort of the first expectation. The second expectation is that in the 107 members that will be in the Legislative Council, there'll be about 10% or 10 or so or 11 people who will become ministers. And it will be definitely the expectation of the Kashmiri Pandit community that if this government is serious about creating political space first, because that's where it has to start, that at least one member be a Kashmiri Pandit. And that once that framework is set up with 10 or 11 ministers, one of whom is a Kashmiri Pandit, then it is the earnest hope of the Kashmiri Pandit community, because this is what we communicated to Prime Minister Modi when we met him. We said, we would like you, in consultation with the Lieutenant Governor, Ministry of Home Affairs, and the Lieutenant Governor's office, please create an advisory council of Kashmiri Pandits so that we can sit down. We can sit down with the Ministry of Home Affairs. And it's, recognizing Kashmiri Pandit genocide is the first step. But then how do you create a framework of restorative justice? Because this destruction and cleansing was so massive, had so many dimensionalities. It's an extremely complex subject. It's the rarest of rare crimes. And so how do you lay out a pathway of restorative justice that the Kashmiri Pandit community wants to work in partnership with the government? So create this advisory council as a first step.
Wonderful explanation and vision for how Kashmir has to move forward. One thing that I can tell you, Rakesh ji, is that the government has taken this upon itself very seriously. If I look at some of the appointments, and I hope I'm right when I'm saying these things because these were done, I'm hoping that they are still current. One is that they have got a very talented police officer called Vijay Kumar, who's advising the governor. He used to be under Satyapal Malik. I don't know if he's continuing or not. Also for the redistricting, they have the former chief election commissioner, N. Gopalaswamy, who's working on that. So these are all people with a lot of gravitas. So I'm sure Home Minister Amit Shah and the Prime Minister Modi have given it some thought, and they're trying to make sure that this is done right and this is done in a way that can be exemplary. It can show to even the other parts of Kashmir that are not part of India yet, the Pakistan occupied Kashmir as well as Gilgit-Baltistan, that look, we are doing this right. We are, integrating this, and whenever you guys are ready, you are also going to come join us. So I'm just saying, I'm leaving it out there. But my concern is, having met with so many, Kashmiri Pandits, and my thoughts go back to 1986, I think, 32 years ago. I met, I did not know that the person I was talking to was a Kashmiri Pandit. And this person, this is a small town in rural Colorado near the town of Fort Collins. I had given some film for developing, and the person who had owned that store was a Kashmiri Pandit. He looked Indian, and then we started talking, making small talk, and then he said, this was before 1990. He had fled much before that, and he said, we were literally driven out with just our clothes. And then he said, oh, by the way, I just got a second daughter. And I asked him, what is the name what is her name? And he said, Kashmira. I mean, the way he said it, he still loved his land. He loved that piece where he had just left with his bare clothes. But the love for the land was, I could see it in his eyes. He was tearing up when he was explaining to me what was going on. I was just a student, wet behind the ears. But that passion for the land, that came through. And that is now 32 years since this happened, and I still remember it like yesterday. So I know what the Kashmiri Pandits have been through, and I think perhaps the Supreme Court will have to reopen and re-examine this issue, because this has to come from the apex court. People are not going to keep quiet. The other side will try to argue their way out. Whatever possession, eminent domain, whatever you want to call it. Even in India, right? If you are renting a property for 10 years to the same person, it automatically becomes there. There are all sorts of precedences. So you have to look at this as a genocide where these things don't apply. So there is a fair amount of work that is, I can see coming. But the most important thing was that you have to make a beginning. And I believe that beginning has been made today. Rakeshji, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. And if you would like to leave our viewers with a thought, I'd encourage you to do that. And I would like to come back to you maybe in a couple of months' time. We can talk more as, on a continuous basis on various topics, including Kashmir, how you are helping out. And I'm sure you're going to be playing a significant role in all this that's going to happen in the near future. Over to you, sir.
The global Kashmiri Pandit diaspora is committed to India's well-being, to Kashmir's well-being. We were very active in thwarting Imran Khan's jihadi attack in the United Nations. My only other comment for the Lieutenant Governor would be that fundamentally the incentives in Kashmir have to be changed, because incentives drive behavior. The disastrous Dulat doctrine that you reward militant separatists hoping that you will purchase them now mercifully has come to an end. But there is one additional change that has to happen. The government of India has had remarkable success with having instituted rewards for informers. In fact, the reason the head of ISIS was killed by the American forces was because there was a $25 million reward on his head. And so rewards work, and now these informers are proving to be very useful in helping the local police and the army in identifying these Afghan and Pakistani terrorists who are roaming around. But the government has to go a step further, which is not just have rewards, there have to be penalties. If these people have safe houses, if somebody is found in a safe house, then the government has to exercise eminent domain and strip that house and land away. You can't have a situation of Dawood, the criminal, being prosecuted by India while he's still able to have his properties and enjoy them. No. So people have to understand that if you're going to provide safe houses, which is the only way the terrorists can function, then you're at risk that you're going to lose it all.
And that's a very sobering thought. And as a matter of fact, Rakeshji, I can also tell you that, remember, what's her name? Mufti Muhammad's daughter, the other daughter who was kidnapped. Now lives in Chennai. Her husband has one of the biggest automobile dealerships. One wonders, where did they get the money to get all these things? And in a quid pro quo, I'm told, and I don't have proof for this, so don't come after me for this, but I'm sure the government does, that a lot of DMK leaders have properties, in Kashmir. So this stuff is enough. These people are all up to their gills. They've made money. In fact, I'm also curious if they'll ever come out of their houses, that they'll have to be shot out of their houses, their chief ministerial bungalows that they have for themselves, the Farooq Abdullahs, Umar Abdullahs, and the muftis of the world. I even suspect if they have lined up their walls with cash, who knows?
No, those houses, I think last week they were told, can you believe it? These guys had passed a legislation in the state that they would have lifetime use of those homes on Gupkar Road.
Yes.
But now in the Government of India constitution, they can't, and they've all been asked to vacate, and Ghulam Nabi Azad has vacated. But there's a deeper point, and that is that as part of anti-corruption, I hope the Lieutenant Governor really puts a strong person who goes and looks at all of the land records. There's a department there. That particular department has been used to completely falsify ownership papers of Kashmiri Pandit property, to enable encroachment of temple lands, and finally permit all of the 160 wealthy families to build homes in areas that were against the law. And so all of that stuff has to be cleaned up. And you know what? The local people will support that. There is no love left for these elites who have exploited and sucked the system. No love for them.
And you're right. I mean, this is something like a Truth and Reconciliation Commission that has to be formed. And I'm 100% sure that's going to happen. We need to keep pushing, sir. These things, you can't just let them go and say, okay, let's give them some time. I think that is gone. Now you need to iron his heart. I encourage Rakesh ji to come back on this panel, and we keep pounding this message saying we need this thing. We need, because 28 years, 29 years is a long time. And they would like to come back. And not only that, Kashmiri Pandits can revive, rejuvenate the industry there. And first, for the rest of India to start buying property in Kashmir, they would look to see how well the local, you know, the people who lived in Kashmir for thousands of years, how they are being able to get back their property. That is the litmus test, in my opinion. Nobody else is going to buy unless they know that here are the people who lived there for thousands of years. Now they have got their lands back, they've got their businesses back, and that is the first thing that needs to happen.
That's exactly right. Well, I'll look forward to coming back. I'll have some very concrete ideas at our next conversation, and even some ideas that would apply for people in Gilgit, in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, who have a deep yearning to, I think, now be part of India. Remember, the per capita income on Pakistan-occupied Kashmir is 1/6 of that on the Indian side.
Oh my God, that's and now with everything becoming normal, it's going to go much faster. It will be one of the fastest growing states in India. So I mean, that ought to be something that to look forward to everybody. And why go and spend your vacation money in Switzerland when you have your own Switzerland right here in your backyard? So
absolutely, we will work together to build a Naya Kashmir. It'll be beautiful, notwithstanding a few ugly people here and there running around, but we will build a new Kashmir, and it'll be something that will be a joy to behold. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Namaskar. And then we will be back with more such insightful conversations with Rakesh ji. Also, viewers, we did talk about the ground situation on Kashmir in a previous hangout with Abhijit Iyer Mitra. If you have not seen it, do watch it, because he has extremely detailed conversations that he had with people, and he has explained what has been going on. I mean, he came back a month ago, so it's still about a month old. But remember that there is a lot of stuff that you get from our conversations on PGurus, and please subscribe to us, and please donate if you can. Thank you very much.